TV Campfire Podcast.
I was like, okay, so you win for the week.
We're here.
I hate to sound like a broken record.
Oh no! We're fans.
It's one of the best things on television.
Oh! Alright, we got you a whole different level.
No, you didn't.
We talk TV.
That was the best scene ever. Like, that blew me away.
It was absolutely amazing. I just couldn't believe it.
Welcome to the show.
This is podcast number 617, and this week we have returning guests and a new guest. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Allison, and I write reviews for 6 Degrees of Geek.
Hi, this is Tom. I chair Visual Media Arts at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida and host the Screen Tom podcast on iTunes and Spotify.
Hello, Malik here. I'm Artistic Director of Griot Theater.
Hi, this is Yusan. I'm a costume designer and TV enthusiast from Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Marcia Powers, and I'm involved with 6 Degrees of Geek, fandom charities, and the new Hellmouth Con happening in Los Angeles next June.
All right, let's start off with the news. Tom, hit us. What you got?
Amazon's Jack Ryan, with newly minted hottest man of the year from People magazine, John Krasinski, is headed to the big screen after 4 seasons on the small screen.
Wow.
Sophie Turner is going to star in a Tomb Raider series from Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Amazon is shutting down Freevee, its ad-supported video streamer. Most recently, the Kid Spy show that we used to like before season 3 tanked was on Freevee. And
Alex Cross?
Alex Cross. No, not Alex Cross. Was that Alex Cross?
No, it's Alex something.
That's the new one with Aldous Hodge.
I know. I messed that up. Never mind. Continue. Alex Rider.
Alex Rider.
That was it.
Alex is mixed up, and they're also have a Mass Effect TV series in the works from the writer of Fast and Furious 9 at Apple TV Plus.
Bad choice.
Lena, don't get me started. Lena Dunham is going to write the Sam Bankman-Fried movie for Apple and A24 based on Michael Lewis' book Going Infinite. CBS has picked up NCIS Origins and Papa's House for full seasons. Disney Plus Percy Jackson series has cast Andra Day as Athena for season 2. I approve. Euphoria season 3 at HBO is finally moving forward with an 8-episode season, which will probably be the last one since Zendaya is like a big movie star now. Martha Plimpton and Maria Enos are joining Mark Ruffalo in the HBO drama Task. The Harry Potter TV series is eyeing Academy Award winner Mark Rylance for the role of Dumbledore. That's a good choice. And finally, Ted Lasso alum Phil Dunster, aka Jamie Tart, is joining Steve Carell in a new comedy series from Bill Lawrence and Matt Tarsis. Hulu has renewed Reasonable Doubt from the Onyx Collective for season 3, and they're giving some of their shows a showcase on ABC for mid-season, including The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Only Murders in the Building, which will be on linear television. Lady Gaga is going to appear in Wednesday season 2 at Netflix. Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2 has found its Judy Longfeng, the Boulder, and has cast sympathizer star Hoa Zwandi, and Outer Banks has been renewed for its 5th and final season. Oh, for Paramount Network, the first episode of Yellowstone, the long-awaited season 5.2 premiere, is their biggest premiere night ever without Kevin Costner.
Oh, but here's the thing that's weird is a lot of viewers didn't know he wasn't going to be on it. And I think he gets killed in the premiere. And now everybody's mad. Everybody's like, even though it was the biggest premiere they've ever had, like the internet went nuts with people being so upset. Like, I was like, how did they not know? But there were people who didn't know. And so
they killed him?
Yeah. He quit. Yeah. Well, he quit the show. And then they killed his character. And then the internet lost its mind. And so now people are vowing to never watch the show again, which is crazy.
I'm personally looking forward. I doubt they're going to do it if they just kept Yellowstone without him.
They're talking.
They are. That's the plan.
Because at first they weren't sure about that.
Talking about doing season 6 without him, with Cole Hauser and Kelly Riley, and they got spin-offs galore. It's cray. Yeah. White Lotus alum Haley Lou Richardson is joining Emilia Clarke in the Peacock spy thriller series Ponies. And finally, Showtime has announced that Dominic West will join the espionage thriller The Agency. And that's all I have.
All
Pretty big
righty.
stuff.
Yeah. Let's start off with the shows. First up, we're going to discuss Penguin, and we're going to talk episodes 5 through 8, which is basically just wrapping up the series from where we left off. And I am going to quickly give my opinion because I know you guys really like the show. And I thought the first 4 were pretty good. And I was like, okay, I'll suck up my doubts and keep on watching. But it's just not my show. It's just not my kind of show. I'm not the kind of person that likes to watch a show about the main character or not even really like the anti-hero being.
He's not an anti-hero. He's a straight up villain. He's evil.
Thank you. That's true. So I don't like following that. So I usually, if there's a character that I can follow that's not the bad guy, then I'll follow that. And that's what Victor was for me. And I was enjoying Victor's story. And I was watching it for his journey, and then they I saw it come. All you guys said, you saw it coming. I saw it coming too.
Well,
go ahead, Tom.
You want to? Here's the thing, and can I just do kind of the whole movement of the second half?
Go ahead.
What's interesting is we're really kind of, even though Sophia's damaged, we're kind of rooting for her because she's got valid reasons for being screwed over.
True.
And Oz has basically treated her awfully and lied to her and tried to manipulate her.
He manipulates everybody, yeah.
Everybody, there's this back and forth between Oz is getting one up on somebody and they're getting one up on him. And the fact that Sophia went to, why am I blanking on the other bad dude's name?
The Marconis.
Maroney. He goes to the Maroney family. Oh, by the way, she toasted your boy from your show, Legacies. He was the son. He was Sherrod.
Right.
That was Landon.
Penguin literally lit him on fire. Yes.
Literally lit him up. But so for me, the beginning of the end was when Maroney has a heart attack after he basically kind of has Penguin kind of one-ups him. And then while they're struggling, he has a fatal heart attack. And then, of course, Penguin puts many rounds in him. And then, it's a matter of time. The show is called Penguin, not Falcone or whatever, Gigante. So the way it ends, I mean, for me, we found out how evil this dude was when we get a flashback showing that as a child, he straight up engineered the murder of the deaths of his siblings, one older, one younger, because he wanted mom all to himself. So the finale.
What tripped me out about that, and which your girl proves, is as much as he claims to be a mama's boy and loves his mom, he kind of, if she gets her finger cut off, he's totally fine with it if he doesn't have to break his illusion or delusion. And it's really showed that he doesn't really love his mom as much as he claims he did. So I was just like, yeah, nope, I'm out.
So when we get to the point at the very end where he finally, is triumphant over Maroney and Falcone, he sets Sophia up. I figured that he was going to arrange for her to take the fall for all the bad stuff, stuff he did. And then finally, when everything's looking good for him and Vic, and he has Vic, and Vic says, "You're like family to me." It's like, dude, you don't know he murdered his brothers. And his mother knew and put a hit on him and then changes her mind at the last minute. So Vic represented the center of good for the series. And when you get rid of him, you just get left with this, hole of nihilism, and the dude's straight up evil. And the fact that his hooker / girlfriend betrayed him, which he probably doesn't know, and he puts her in the same outfit his mom wore when he was young. I'm like, ew, dude, you got some serious. You need that shirt more than Sophia does.
Yeah.
So it was a satisfying ride, but I don't need a sequel. Just give me the Batman Part 2.
So I don't think they don't intend to make a sequel, right? Isn't
that
this
correct?
This is, to me, that's part of why I enjoyed it. Is it told the story it wanted to tell, and it finished. So, and I'm going to work backward a little bit. The fact that Victor goes down at the end makes absolute sense. To me, that actually is part of what makes the story satisfying. Because even though we say that Penguin is not the anti-hero, he's a villain, there are multiple moments in the show where we are rooting for him. They get him captured a lot, which is a little bit of a plot thing, but we continually root for him at various times in the show to figure out a way to get out of his situation. So I think that the fact that we root for this guy who's capable of all of this horrible behavior is actually rather poetic, that we end it with not only his choice to continue to be a monster, but he's essentially saying, I have to kill you in order to be a monster, because if I have someone I care about, people can use that against me. I thought that was actually rather poetic. And I think it was, because we don't expect to see a season 2, that's where you spend your dime. I also just want to talk about, I absolutely, the concept of who he is with his mother is so much what this show is about. And all of the actions he takes and all of the things that he goes for are connected to that relationship. I love how they revealed the history of what happened to his brothers. Earlier in the show, they talk about his brothers being lost to the city. So you kind of assume, they got killed in gang stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you realize they were little boys and they show the backstory of how he did it, I'm not clear how exactly premeditated that was. I mean, it wasn't premeditated. We know he was angry, right? He wanted to play with them. He was angry. I'm going to lock this door on you. I don't think when he locked the door, he was like, I'm going to drown you. I think he locked the door out of anger. And then as the night went on and he realized what was happening, he did nothing to correct it.
Yes.
And actually, I thought that was kind of, in a dastardly way, kind of beautiful how they told that story. Last piece I want to say, just in terms of execution, I loved the beer summit that he had when he was trying to convince the other mob bosses to join him. You've seen a version of that scene many, 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 many times in many, many, many different shows. And the idea that you have this sound effect of the beer cans popping as a way to signify when everybody was on board, I thought was just great execution. So what could have been just a plot point actually felt like a pretty cool event to me. So to me, the show was really satisfying. There were problems for sure. But overall, I thought the show was really satisfying.
Yeah, I agree with Malik on a lot of points. I thought that, first of all, the show was mounted beautifully. It was like a movie. It was gorgeously done. But I don't require that a character necessarily be a good guy in order for me to find him somebody whose story I'm going to follow. I just require that he be interesting. And that's what they did with the Penguin. They made him a compelling character. They made him an interesting character whose story I wanted to follow. He's at no point a nice guy, although, as Malik pointed out, you do find yourself oddly rooting for him. Maybe it's because everybody else is just so much worse, but you're invested in his story. There's also, I think, in the back of everyone's mind, well, he can't die here because he's got to become the Penguin that we know as the adversary of Batman. So there's this part of us that wants to see that play out, that's invested in that character we know he is going to be. And so we're kind of on this ride with him, as horrible a person as he is. And at no point do they try to say, oh no, really, deep down he's good. That never arrives. Every time they kind of suck you in to feel bad for him or feel sympathy, they smack you upside the head with the 2x4 of, no, this guy is a villain. He's horrible. He kills people. And he really is a narcissistic sociopath. Even his love for his mother, as Tom pointed out, it only just goes so deep. It still is something in service to his neediness, his narcissism.
Yeah.
He's willing to let terrible things happen to his mom. The ending where, despite his mother's wishes to put her out of her misery if she, really bottoms out, from this disease, which she will, she makes him promise, she begs him in a moment of lucidity to do this, and instead he keeps her trapped in that loft, staring out the window, trapped in that bed, and it's the worst possible outcome. And we see at the end that there's enough cognition that she still has left, that there's this tear running down her face as she's lying in that bed. And then he goes down and plays the loving mom and loving son with his prostitute girlfriend downstairs. It's just so, yes, it is. It's creepy. It's horrible.
I'm sorry. I hope she got a lot of money to pretend to be mommy, because that's just freaking weird.
But Allison, that moment that he chooses, though, he is keeping his earlier promise to get her a place with that view while betraying his more recent promise to not let her linger on like that. I think it's a beautiful
Be careful
conflict.
what you wish for. Yeah.
Let's wrap. Okay, go ahead, Todd, real quick.
I would like to see a spin-off with Catwoman and Falcone.
Well, they left that little bit. They left that little tidbit. Yeah. I thought that was great when they could
cook up for that.
Yeah, when she finds out that you've got a half sister, and guess what? She's Selena Kyle. I loved that. So yeah, maybe we'll be getting a Catwoman thing soon. That would be nice.
All right, wrapping that up. You guys liked it. I can't hang out with the sociopathic, narcissistic, crazy man. No, thank you. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Superman episodes 4 through 6. And Tom, you helped us out with remembering which episodes those were. But the wedding, it won't take long, mainly because the wedding episode was characters we don't care about.
Characters you don't care about anyway. Yeah, Kyle and Chrissy do not get married in episode 4, so that
was a lot of buildup for nothing.
Yeah, that was, considering they only had 10 episodes for the final season, that was weird to. I can see giving those characters a bit of closure, but for me it was kind of
it was the characters that I didn't need closure for. I never liked Kyle in the first place.
Yeah,
so having him wrap up his whole we're gonna get married because we're having a baby. I don't care, dude. Whatever. And then of course their barn is cursed, so every event they try to have in the barn goes wrong.
Although if I remember correct, this is the episode where Jonathan gets his powers, isn't it?
That is correct, and that is the only thing that happened in the episode that was good. But I love the scene where he goes. No, he gets his powers
earlier.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
Is that the end of episode 3? Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, 3. He has the big fit, yells at his brother. But 4 is the one where he starts training with his dad. So they start doing. Yeah, right.
Does he go see Ghost Grandma? I can't remember.
Well, I think they saw her earlier, but the whole point is they do training, and it just shows the difference between how quickly he's a better Superboy than his brother.
Oh, because he's naturally coordinated and not emo.
Yes, all those things. And then his brother goes and sulks in a corner and goes, "You can just be Superboy, and I won't be Superboy anymore." Sad. But this episode was not the best. So mainly, like I said, it was just dealing with stuff that was not that important, I think. And it wasn't until we get to the next episode, which I thought was a much better use of our time, which was Luthor. What was that the fist fight in the street? Was that one?
5? I believe so.
Yeah, so the thing that I liked about this version of Luthor is, even though he's a big guy, he doesn't really use the fact that he's a big guy Luthor's still smart, and that's really what they were going for. And it was just a good actor who happened to be a big guy. But this was the first time where it felt like, oh, they cast him so they could have this fist fight. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of disappointing. But I did like the whole concept of Lois realizing that she was kind of having silent communication with Doomsday, and that part of the reason that he was doing the orders that he was doing was kind of like getting back at Lois for having a perfect life that he didn't have anymore. And her communication with him, I thought, was really good. I like that.
Well, I thought it was good to take Doomsday off take the playing piece off the board, because that was
because he was too overpowered. He was too overpowered.
Because this version of Doomsday is way overpowered compared to other versions we've seen. But for me, episode 6, where the townspeople and the worst kept secret ever, which will come to a head in episode 7, which we're not talking about, but in episode 6, where Luther is planning to build a new plant and doing his manipulations to get land,
right?
And the townspeople basically stand up for the Kents, because Clark grew up with them, and they know that and Lois tells them this dude is bad news.
Yeah, Lana too. She's the mayor, and she's going around telling people, this is too good to be true. This is a big corporation coming in, and they're giving us a lot of money up front, but they're going to screw our town. And I did like the town standing together, and I also like the undercurrent that like half the people knew he was Superman, and they were like, "Oh, so we shouldn't do it, right?" And he's like, no. And they were like, "Okay, well, we're not going to do it because you said not to do it." So I like that it kind of combined the kind of small town working together as a unit, kind of give you that kind of feel good. Plus the fact that the town was kind of proud that it felt like half the people in town already knew his secret. And they were just like, "Okay, Superman says not to do this. We're not going to do it. Yay."
Enough people know that that's what we'll talk about next time.
But yeah, I'd say I see where we're going for the end of this season. And for the most part, I kind of like it. I like where they're trying. I could feel where they're trying to wrap everything up. Like, if it feels like the only things that I feel like that are left hanging is I still want to know about John. What is John's last name? The guy with the suit. John and his daughter.
Irons.
Yeah, I'd rather have had episodes about him and his daughter versus the marriage that wasn't a marriage thing. Like, Irons and his daughter, way more interesting than the other dude and his not girlfriend or not married wife, whatever, not wife thing. Like, that storyline was the most boring ever. Like, I was like, were they just cheaper to have? Like, why would they go with them? I wasn't clear. Anyway, but let's move on. But like I said, next week's, like you said, was really good at, like, it got me right in the heartstrings. But I wanna give time for that one and the next two, and hopefully that's all really good review. Next up, we're gonna talk Shrinking, and we're gonna talk episodes 5 and 6. And episode 5, help me out, somebody. Episode 5 is
that's the aftermath of Alice getting found out.
Got punched in the boob and put a frozen peas on it.
Say again?
She got punched in the boob and then put her frozen peas on it. That was a girl.
That is that's pretty much what happened. That's very good. So Yusa, do you want to lead out Shrinking?
Yes, I love this show so much. It does such a beautiful job with all of the relationships. I think it's a really hard thing. We haven't seen dramedies. That word came around, you know what I mean? I don't know, 15 years ago or something. We haven't seen good dramedies lately. And it's so hard, I think, to balance both humor and that kind of poignant drama that really makes you cry even. And I have to tell you that not in this episode that we're talking about, not the boob punching episode, but later on we'll discuss the episodes. It's a rare thing that a show can make me laugh as hard as this show makes me laugh and then cry. It's a brilliant thing. So in this episode, we've got Harrison Ford's character. His daughter comes to visit, and they go to
the wife.
The ex-wife. Yes, the ex-wife comes, so that's like a big deal. And then we've got Jessica Williams' character. We find out about her home life more with her sister and
her mom.
And her
Renee
mom, the
Watson.
situation there, and the life blocking, you know, kind of a thing that her sister does. You know, so that's really, so we're constantly learning more about all of the different characters, even you know, the fallout aftermath of and we'll see about this, the annoying neighbor and how she deals with the loss of the truck.
Liz.
Liz,
The annoying neighbor. I was like, who's the annoying neighbor? Oh, right.
Yes, right. The, you know, and how she deals with the loss of, you know, working with the truck and her doggy photos not be. There's a lot going on in this. Hang on, can we move on to the next few episodes?
Well, I want somebody.
Yes, jump in. Someone else talk about this episode.
Let's talk about how awesome it was to see Kelly Bishop again after Gilmore Girls playing Harrison Ford's ex-wife.
Yes. I love her, and I love
She's
the
awesome.
fact that casting her was perfect. Like, I could imagine what their marriage was like immediately, just because I already know that actress and how she likes to play the characters. I was like, oh yeah, that works. I can see it. But I feel like the big thing is I'm gonna call him Roy Kent, because I like calling him Roy Kent, and I know that's not his character's name in the show, but
Do we
watch
even
Ted
know his
Lasso if you
character's name? I don't think they even give his name.
Yeah,
They do.
gave it.
They do. But I just don't know what it is. And I don't care, because he's always going to be Roy Kent to me. So I really love what they're doing with this character and what it says about forgiveness and what it says about, you know, grief and the different stages of all of those things. Because as much as you're thinking about the mother and the husband of Tia, I think that's her name, how much they're grieving, nobody really thought about the drunk driver at all, and he's grieving in a very different way. But because of the fact that the whole thing is, you know, really his fault, no one is supporting him in his grief. And I thought that only thing I will say negative about this is I felt like her turn was too quick, like one episode too fast.
We're
Like, I
talking about
like
the next episode.
So you're going ahead,
fine.
Lydia.
Sorry, but yes.
But go ahead. I mean,
I just felt like her arc is beautiful. I loved the entirety of her arc. I just felt like it happened just one episode too fast. Like, I felt like it needed maybe one more episode for it to feel completely organic to me. But other than that, go ahead.
Or I have to say, it could have been just how the scene was played. Since we are moving ahead a little bit, you're talking about the fact that she ends up kind of not being forced, but then choosing to confront him finally. And I agree that it felt slightly too abrupt. I don't know that you needed it to postpone another episode. I think it literally could have happened in the scene. And it was slightly the way it was written and slightly the way it was played. We should have had more anger / pain before she's ready to sit down and chew the fat with him. So I think it could have happened in the scene. So while it was a moving scene, I do agree it was slightly abrupt. I just want to give a shot. I want to slightly change topics. Tom, were you going to talk about that piece?
Yeah, it wasn't quite as earned as Rebecca's apology to Ted in season 1 of Ted Lasso, because they let that arc play out longer. That was episode 109, and we've known since 101 that she set Ted up to fail. So it felt much more organic, whereas there was like a missing beat. There was like just one missing
beat. I feel like it was just one beat that was missing.
It could have been within another episode, or it could have been within the same episode, but it was still missing.
Agreed. Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to Jessica Williams, who
love her.
She is. There's so much to love about her work, not across the show. I'm so glad they decided to put to bed her relationship with Jimmy being physical, because that just it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel
Nope.
real. It didn't feel anything.
They didn't
So
have
I'm
any
glad.
chemistry. Yeah,
They
they
Yes.
had
didn't
no
have any
chemistry.
chemistry, but it did lead to a lot of funny scenes, a lot of riffs.
But
I mean,
not them
that
together
was great
though.
dialogue.
I
Uh,
think they're much better exes than they were together.
Yes,
Yes.
and colleagues who,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad we've gotten over that hump because it was depressing me a little bit.
That could have been done an episode sooner.
So I did appreciate seeing her with her family as well, the dynamic with her mom and her sister.
Renee Watson, welcome back, Connor, baby.
Houston is trying to say something. You've been trying to say something for a minute.
Yeah, because this was really, I do want to say something about, I want to go back to the Alice Roy Kent scene because I want to give props to
Brett Goldstein,
Brett Goldstein's, no, the daughter, Alice.
Lakina.
Oh, okay.
I want to go back. I just want to say, because I agree with you guys, but it still didn't, even though I feel like, yes, there was like a missing beat. I feel like her acting was very real for me. And that's it, as a person who lost a parent at her age, I felt I think very connected to the scene. And I have to tell you, I haven't cried in like at least a year about anything in life. And I found myself watching the scene and not bawling, but just tiny little tears kind of coming out.
Just one
You
tear.
had a Denzel tear just coming
Just
down.
one.
And I just so it that speaks to, like, there was truth in the scene, and there was
Yes.
truth in her acting, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was a gentle scene. It wasn't overacted, and it wasn't histrionic. There wasn't a lot of, it wasn't one of those scenes where it was like misery porn or like, this. It still stayed within the tone of the show, and I thought it was a delicate balance, and telling that whole story about how her mom was so conscientious, and even in her own tiny little way, looking for forgiveness, for bumping that kid, and then trying to give him the the hat, you know what I mean? So there's that, her seeking her own tiny little forgiveness kind of a thing. So there, it was very layered, that
It was.
scene,
Yeah.
and her and Alice telling it, and then yes, you're right, that beat her just kind of saying like, well, my mom would have forgiven you, you know what I mean? Like, and it was earned in the sense that we learn a little bit about her mom's personality, you know what I mean? Because we don't know that much about her mom. But yes, I agree, but I don't want to take away from the fact that the scene actually did, do a great job of that delicate balance, still between the humor, and it didn't seem out of place in the series. And it made me cry, and that's a big thing, for me, because I don't like fake emotions or making me feel manipulated, and I don't think I felt manipulated at all. Like I said, it wasn't a This Is Us tear fest for me. It was just little bit
just the one tear. Okay.
Anyway, I wanted to say that.
All right.
I
Let's
thought it was smart that Lois asks her, "What was your mom like?"
Mhm.
That was the window in.
Yeah.
That he was trying to.
And it was believable. I would want to know,
Yeah. I agree. But
over
let's wrap this one up.
Don't forget, this is huge. In this episode, in the truck, the dad blames the therapist, and they have a huge falling out.
Right. Well, what's his name?
huge.
Sean.
Yeah. So Sean, the whole,
Confronts
we
his
find
dad.
out the whole thing is based on his dad not acknowledging his pain and treating him poorly in a situation where
And him
he's
sharing
basically
this information.
Yeah, basically his father let him down. And when he finally confronts his dad and tells him that, his father just like does not say the right thing. And that leads to this fight where he got jacked up. But I will say I loved his drunken confessions, like his drugged out.
That was the next episode.
Drug confessions, get it right. Drug confessions.
Wasn't drunk.
They were great. They were great.
Fantastic.
He was just calling everybody out, letting everybody's secrets out all over the place.
Gabby and the White Saviors.
Oh!
That was fantastic. So
Like they
all
were
of that
rock
was
band.
really good.
Jessica Williams.
Big head.
Yeah, that was great. All right, we got to wrap this one up, but I think we're all saying thumbs up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
Next
a
up,
brilliant show.
we're going to talk What We Do in the Shadows, and we're going to do 4 through 6, starting from the railroad, which I'm just going to say overall for the next 3 episodes, these were better than the first 3. But it still suffered from the same issue that the first 3 had, which is, what are we doing with this season? It doesn't have each season of What We Do in the Shadows has usually a very clear through line.
Story arc.
And I'm in episode 6, and I don't know couldn't tell you what the through arc is.
And as amusing as the Apocalypse Now homage was in episode 605, people who aren't film profs or don't love the movie, they're not going to get it. They're not going to get it. And I'm like, kind of like the After Hours tribute in season 2 of Ted Lasso that y'all hated. It's like, if you don't know the reference, the homage is not going to do you any good.
Yeah,
So
it was. It was just Nandor being Lasso. No, it's Nandor. Nandor being weird. Yeah, Nandor being weird is kind of his.
He completely lost it. He had
delusional.
Well,
having an army made of mannequins.
He's
well,
having
it
a
turns
break.
out he's not delusional.
It's
He actually
psychological
does have a
break.
real army, but still, it's still, yeah. It's
And
like
then why is Colin Robinson joining his army like for real and really
Because
being
Colin
committed?
Robinson is desperate for friends. He wants to belong. He just wants to do
He
anything that he belongs.
He does, but it's just that was a little extra for Colin Robinson.
I don't know.
I did like that Guillermo firing Laszlo like broke him. I did appreciate that. Because it does kind of make sense to me, because their whole pyro dynamic flipped on its head. And
scene with Nandor standing outside the restaurant and them filming him, when they were all partying and cheering, and he's like, I'm longing or whatever. It was sad.
It was super sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, great.
I did like that. Okay, so we had the railroad one, which was not that good because the railroad storyline was kind of dumb.
Oh, that neighbor just annoys me. Ugh.
I hate the neighbor too. I agree. And what was the one after the neighbor? That was Nandor's army, which actually was kind of crazy because he ended up having a real army at the end.
He has a real army. Yeah.
That was like super bizarre. I was like, who are these guys? Like, they don't really explain that. And then what was the third one?
Laszlo's ghost. Laszlo's father's ghost.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It was like
and again, Colin Robinson is craving attention, affection.
That's true. And the father was a really good con man. He was a great con man. I love the fact that Laszlo gets really insulted every time Colin Robinson says he doesn't have a father figure, if he never had a parent. And he's like, dude, I raised you from a baby. And he's like, why are you being crazy? Because he doesn't remember it for some reason, which is insane.
Well, we were shown he has that life cycle where
he regenerated.
He regenerates, and he only remembers what he wrote down in the in a book in the previous cycle. So he goes through all the previous books, and apparently he never wrote down any of his experiences with Laszlo, so he doesn't remember any of that at all. What I don't understand is why all of a sudden he's so needy to be with other people. Because as a psychic vampire, he's always been the kind of guy who wants to depress people, wants to, he's deliberately antisocial. And so I don't get what the change is, it was funny, but it's like, how is that his character?
Yeah, and how is he feeding off of this at all? Like, he's not feeding any boredom on anybody or doing anything like he would normally do.
In a really long time. He hasn't fed in a really long time.
Yeah, basically. And so it's just really bizarre. And Guillermo being at this corporation, I don't care. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I get that the joke is supposed to be that, he's stopped working for literal vampires and now he's working for human vampires.
Yes. I know. I got the joke.
But that's enough for like one episode, not an entire arc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I don't understand what the through line is for this. At first, I thought it was, well, we're seeing the growth of Guillermo as he pulls away from them. But I'm not really getting much of that
Well, because
either
every time he
with
pulls
this.
away, yeah, every time he
They
pulls
pull him
away,
back in.
they pull him back in.
They pull him back in.
Yeah, I just think it
Talk
feels
about
like
cinematic
we weren't
references.
expecting a
Yes.
six-season pickup, and they're just like, oh, what do we do? Oh,
Exactly. It
fun
feels like last season should have been the last season
that would have been a
because
great place to end.
it was a great ending. Like the way last season ended was perfect. It took everything full circle. It had a perfect ending, and now we have this extra season that is just kind of wandering around, and I don't know where we're going. But
Yeah. I'm still watching it because I'm hoping
Yes.
that they pull it together and, turn it, that they have an idea how this is going to end and it's going to be worth it. But yeah, this has been kind of a disappointing season. It's had
Yes.
moments. It's funny. I
Doug
personally
Jones.
loved, yes, Doug
Doug
is always
Jones is always
hilarious
great.
in this. And I
Always
love
delight.
Steve Coogan. He was great as Laszlo's father. And the whole Apocalypse Now thing I thought was very funny, and they did it very well. But it's just like, okay, these are little bullet points. They don't come together as a whole season.
Correct. Yeah. Individual episode stuff is good, but yeah, they don't come together.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so let's wrap that up. Thumbs decided.
There are thumbs.
Sideways,
There,
yeah.
there are thumbs. Next up, oh good lord. Next up, we're gonna talk Agatha All Along, and we're gonna talk the last 3 episodes and wrap this up. We're gonna actually, I think, the best 3 episodes of the series. Episode 7 blew my mind just from pulling together all these threads that seemed random throughout the season. And what is the witch's name? I can't remember her name. Lilia. She was just saying random things from the first 6 episodes, just in random places, and everybody be like, "What? Huh? What are you talking about?"
And then she'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
she
then-
goes the same way. Yes.
Yeah, she was like, "Wait, what?" And then this episode, you finally understand what's going on because she's living her life out of sequence.
Out of order.
Yeah, out of order, and she doesn't know why this is happening, but it just started happening, and we just kind of came in the middle of it happening, and this, they put it all together, sort of in order, kind of. And it was amazing.
It still went back and forth,
Yeah,
but it helped you understand
There
the
you go.
previous things you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But it also showed that the first time we meet her and she froze for a moment, that was a time jump too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
So
was
all these things-
really, really creative storytelling. It helped bring things together. I also have to say, I mean, 7 was absolutely one of my favorite of the whole series,
Yeah.
because it gives meaning to things. Her character found her meaning in what her death was supposed to be, right?
Right.
Ultimately, her secret that she learns is, how do I die? But more importantly, why do I die? And she had the absolutely best death of any of the witches. She went out like a soldier and,
Yes.
and took
Like a
out all of
boss.
the Salem 7 in one fell swoop. So and her death felt like you earned something.
Yeah.
The other deaths were like, oh, they're dead now? Okay.
They were
Um,
surprises. It felt like they were surprises for surprise sake,
Yes.
as opposed to this. Yes.
And this one had emotional content. It was a
Mhm.
little bit like Hodor, she was holding the door. So I absolutely appreciated that episode in particular.
I will have to say though, that
Having a
Hodor
bum.
reference still hurts my feelings. Like, why would you bring that up?
Hodor really didn't have a choice though, and she did. She made a choice to do this. And I thought that that was one of the things that
and
made her
save
so
Jen.
effective as a character.
Yeah.
And save Jennifer,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought that, the way they pulled all these things together, because when you see her shouting out things at random, like this sort of like witch's Tourette's syndrome, like, that she's got. And you just chalk it up to her being an eccentric character at the beginning. And then you discover, no, it's not just an eccentricity. She is really living her life out of sequence. And everything that she does is meaningful ultimately to how things resolve and to how the story goes. And it even goes beyond her. Later on, when Agatha realizes that this moment where she says duck is referring to a very specific thing that she needs to do. So I thought all of this was really fabulous and terribly affecting. I actually watched it twice because it was so moving to watch. And there was so much in it too, even in addition to that, just all of the characters dressed up as different Disney witches.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And their choice of who was
Wizard
great.
of Oz, not Disney.
It took me a moment to get why her being a princess was derogatory. I was like, oh, okay.
It's Glinda.
It's Glinda the Good Witch.
I'm not talking about the green one. I'm talking about Patty
no,
LaPone, Lilia's character.
Yeah, but she was Glinda the Good Witch.
Patty LaPone
she was.
Glinda.
I think they made a reference to it.
We watched it behind the scenes. Trust us, it's Glinda.
There's a making of special that they have where they specifically say she was supposed to be Glinda.
Do you know the line I'm talking about though? In the moment when they're dressed as witches and they talk about their comments, she makes reference to the fact that it was slightly derogatory. And
she was talking about Jen.
She thought the one that looked green. She was saying that her costume was derogatory.
And that was not from Wizard of Oz. That was from Snow White.
The crone.
Yeah.
So
when the Wicked Queen turns herself into the crone, she's even holding an apple.
See, we women figured that one out.
That's not what I'm talking about, but I'll talk about it off air.
All right. No. Marcia, just talk. We need to keep moving, so we can't pause on this. So, Marcia, you haven't really talked that much about any of our shows. So, what are your thoughts about this? And you can move on to the next episode as well.
Okay, so
we can go through this.
I loved this episode also. I then had to rewatch everything to catch all those snippets.
Wow.
I'm going to be rewatching this for a third time because episode 8 just blew my mind. Very quickly about this episode, her teacher when she was a child and talked to her every time she came back, the teacher kept saying, well, there's a reason you're doing this. There's a reason you need to do this. And at the end, she comes back as herself as the young girl. The teacher has already talked to her before as an adult and says, okay, now you're ready to go again. And that caught me because she now is going again through her life cycle. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the next.
She's trapped in a loop?
I think she's got a loop going, but a positive loop going because the teacher seems to be happy that she's back. And you realize that as a child, it is actually her as an adult inside the child. That was one thing that I really got hooked on. And then the other is, while we assume that it is all 7 of the crazy children witches that got killed by being staked, you only see 5 bodies. 2 of them, when they turned into animals, turned into birds.
Oh, so you're saying 2 escaped?
I think 2 escaped because they were birds. And since we don't see her actually die, I think that's why we see her as a child again with the teacher, who now, instead of having been arguing with her as a child over and over and over again about do this, do that, you need to learn, whatever, now she is, now you are ready. So I think her death may be a little different than what we're expecting also.
Oh yeah, well, because in a sense she's unstuck in time. So she is sort of Schrodinger's witch. She's both alive and dead
at the
same time.
I will
Oh,
also
wow.
add-
Well, we need to-
Schrodinger's
we need to
witch.
keep-
Now, going
I'm
to-
sorry,
now
we
going
have to
going.
just give her props for that statement.
Yes. So now
Thank you.
I will say regarding episode 8, that was just amazing, knowing everything that we've been told, and then learning that the song is from the child as
Oh,
they've
that's
been.
9. That's 9, Marcy.
That's 9? Oh, I'm sorry.
8 is
Yeah.
the final battle between Death and
It-
Agatha.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the final trial, and then she needs to cry the tear to grow the plant to get out, and only
Okay,
to
so-
find out that all of it is BS.
And so that is my thing that I was really into, was the ending. The idea that they show him in his room, and I'm going, Buffy? Rocky Horror? I've already seen that he's got the little figurines and everything. And I had known from almost the beginning that he was Billy. And that, when the kid had actually died and then was taken. And I really never liked the ending of Marvel's, well, I hated Doctor Strange 1 and 2 anyway, but I didn't like the way it was left. And I had a feeling there was something there. But to find out that he has her power, and that all these years in Eastview is what, 3 years? That
Westview.
power
It's-
never came out until now.
Right.
And that it was just like, oh my God, we are his same universe. And that was amazing because we are in his universe, he's in our universe. I mean, come on, Once More with Feeling and Rocky Horror together. No, this is it just, and then became I have to go rewatch. And then the next episode came and oh my God, I had to rewatch again.
All right, Houston hasn't talked yet about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought episode 7, like everybody else, was brilliant. I watched it twice because I had to watch it twice. I didn't understand what was going on the first time. I got about halfway through. I don't know, maybe I was tired when I was watching it, but I mean, I understood that there was time jumps. I didn't really get, kind of what was going on. And so I started it over again and I thought, okay, I really need to pay attention. And I thought it was really beautifully done. I did feel moved when she sacrificed herself. When she's like pushing her through the door and closing it, and she's like slamming on the door, and she's like, no, and I was like, no. I was like, I
But
was like, I love you.
I was gonna say is finish your thought there, but can you jump to actually episode 9 because we got to wrap up Agatha actually.
Yes. So I'm trying to remember. I mean, somebody help me with how it started. The whole
episode 9?
Well, probably why you're having difficulty with episode 9 is because nothing interesting happens in episode 9.
Oh,
Probably why you have difficulty.
Wait, isn't episode 9 where episode 9 is where it starts with him going, he turns around to see who is in his room, and then it turns out to be the ghost
Right.
of her, of Agnes. And
Agatha.
she looks great in gray hair. And I thought another gray-haired sister. I thought it was it was fun about how I thought it was interesting how first he was happy to see her, but then he was like, you have to go away. Like you have to,
Well, who wants to be haunted?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
who
know.
wants to be
Yeah.
haunted? Come on.
And he was like, you have to go away. And he was trying to get rid of her. And then he comes back
But
around.
you're skipping the flashback part.
Which flashback part?
There's a reason why
my
she's
God,
skipping it, because
so
it's not
beautiful with her
interesting.
son. Yeah, with her
Whatever,
son.
Malik.
Daniel or whatever. Was it
Yeah.
Daniel? Yeah,
No,
or something.
it's I forgot her son's name.
I forgot it.
Nicholas.
Scratch.
Nicholas Scratch.
Scratch.
Yes. Scratch. So, and Scratch, isn't Scratch also euphemism for the devil?
It's
Right?
Yes,
it's a
Old
nickname for the
Scratch
devil, yes.
is a euphemism for the devil. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't get that reference because I was wondering why is he named Scratch? Is who's the father? Was it the devil? But then
Well, we don't know who the father
don't
is. We
know
just
who the
know
father
that she
was.
said she did not make him, that he came naturally.
right.
Well,
Okay.
the name in the context of the show,
Right. is the
she
devil.
has a line where she says, "I made you from scratch."
Okay.
And even though, yes, Old Scratch is a euphemism for the devil, that is the interior reason in the show why she
Okay,
calls.
because I
gives him the name
got a
Scratch.
little confused. I thought, oh wait, did she somehow have sex with the devil? But then I was like, but the devil is a woman, and then I was like, what is happening? I was like, I don't know.
Death is a woman.
She's
Death,
deaf.
death. Okay. So anyway, the point is, the scenes where Agnes gets to Agatha gets to act were beautiful. I thought the love for her son and the connection she had, and Catherine Hahn's acting was finally, for me, I think, better than the rest of the series. So
well, that's also, I agree with you. I think also the thing that they showed is that she was when you find out that the road isn't real and that the reason why she doesn't know what's going on is because she's never actually been on the road and she doesn't know. So all of her like acting throughout where you thought it was off for a reason.
It's off because she's
always performing.
Acting performance in this show.
No,
that's why it's off. That's why
incorrect.
This episode 9.
Anyway, I'm trying to go back to Yusin. What I agree with you. The reason that this works so well is this is the first time we're seeing her like naturally in order versus her reacting to stuff that we don't understand. So that's why it works better. And go ahead, Yusin.
Yeah, so for me, I thought it was poignant, and it gave me a reason to sympathize with Agatha, and really care about her in a way that I hadn't throughout the rest of the series. So for me, I thought it was beautiful. I did think that I'm trying to remember how I was going to say how it ended. The whole show ended. They go off together, so they do
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of.
They're in search of Tommy.
In search of Tommy.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like there'll be another second season. Do we know?
Not a second season.
No second season. Oh,
There's a Vision.
Because they're going to do a
that's
Vision
coming
show.
out.
Yeah, Vision is getting a show.
And it will lead to something. It will continue to lead.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I
and they're
like
also
the ending.
talking about Young Avengers too. So
Oh God, it just never ends. The Marvel universe.
I know.
Marvel Cinematic Universe, man.
But actually, what I liked so much about Agatha, and I've brought this up before, is that it doesn't have to lead into a sequel. They told a story that had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and they wrapped it up. And you don't necessarily. I mean, yes, you can, and I'm sure they will continue these threads outward. But the show itself is of a piece. You don't necessarily need to have seen anything before. You don't necessarily need to see anything after. It just works as its own standalone story. And I think that is when Marvel shows are at their best, when they're just concerned with telling the story at hand. I think that's why this works so well.
What? Go ahead, Tom.
Now, the thing that I really like about episode 9 was it completely recontextualizes the Witch's Road. We see the origins of the song, the permutations. We find out that Death was going to take Nikki in birth, and the bargain was you get to I can give you time. So she gets to have him till he's about 8 or so, which doesn't help because losing a child is still one of the most painful things any parent goes through, having friends who've lost children at a young age. But the thing that amazed me is go back to the early episodes. Episode 2, The Witch's Road is a con. It was. It was a con for Agatha to steal power. And then the fact that Billy manifested a physical Witch's Road based on his objects in the room and his witch's genetic memory just blew me away. But I just love the line that stuck out to me the most when they find a boy who's being drowned for Tommy's spirit to inhabit. And he's like, am I killing this boy? And Agatha just tells him, sometimes boys die.
Yeah.
Like a ton of bricks. But yeah, it's just Jack Schaefer, they need to put her in charge of all of Marvel television. Because we didn't get the special effects versus special effects finale we've gotten on most Marvel movies. We got this intimate history lesson, and it recontextualizes the whole series, which is why I like Marcia will be watching it a third time.
Well, Malik seems to have dissenting opinion. Go ahead, Malik.
Yeah, I enjoyed most of the series. I loved 7, liked a lot about 8. I thought 9 was a disappointment. Um, Once again, it focused back on Catherine Hahn, who I think throughout has done a pretty horrible job as an actor in this role. And so it's probably not a coincidence that the episodes that I enjoy the most are the ones that do not focus on her. When her episode 9, it was just slow. Like all of the moments just took so long to develop to me. I don't mind that they did a flashback to show us the journey with her son, but two things. One is it was really slow, and two, she is now very clearly, definitely morally corrupt and using her son to kill people, which is not very satisfying. It's not of a revelation like, oh, I thought this was a good character and now I see they're bad. It was a character who was mostly bad, who you see is even more bad than you thought, which to me is not much of a revelation.
But she's not Penguin bad.
No, she's not interesting enough. Right? Penguin is interestingly bad.
I think
she
the
just
issue.
Here's the other question. Two part. What does killing the witches actually achieve for her? Maybe we should know
It
that
get-
from
She
prior
gets their
movies.
power.
They
gets
tell
She gets
you
their
But
power.
for what?
Her life force.
so that she
For
has her,
what?
so that
Her
she has
witch
power.
power.
She's a witch. She can't do anything without power. She
Her
needs those
witch
witches.
power is draining
That is
all
how-
other witches.
Other
It
witches-
also
Does
it's
it-
also
if-
keeping
if-
her
if-
young and
over each
alive.
other.
Guys, all of us can't talk at the same time.
So there's two problems that I have with this. Because her son even asked, why do we have to kill them? And she doesn't have a satisfactory answer to talk to her son. And I'm her son. I don't understand why she has to kill them. The second thing is, and again, maybe I should know this from prior Marvel movies, but they seem to set up the fact that she can only kill them when they attack her.
Yes.
But there are several, they have a montage of her killing witches who don't appear to be attacking her. She goes into their camp, she lures them into a house. She seems to be able to kill them without first getting them to attack her.
She gets
And
some
lastly, when they finally do have the montages of the witches' roads where the witches attack her, why is every witch trying to kill her just because she lied because the witches' road didn't work?
Okay.
It's like
Goads
there's
them into attacking her, Malik. That's her MO.
That's her MO. Yeah, she always does
say
that.
again.
Yeah.
She goads them into attacking them. She didn't
That's
have
correct.
I understand the story point. I'm saying seeing it in action. One, there's a whole lot of witches around. I'm like, how do you find all of these witches? But two, all she does is say we're gonna do the witches' road. It fails, and then she says, "Oh gosh, you guys are failures." Every witch then attacks her because she calls them failures.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. I thought episode 9, for a lot of logical reasons, but also how it was executed, but also how poor an acting job Catherine Hahn does. I would have loved if we could have just stopped at 8 and you just tell me they live happily ever after or something.
I think
Hold on,
part of the
go ahead,
issue
Marcia.
part of the issue, Malika, is first, all these witches over the decades think she gave up her son for more magic, for more power, than that she's evil because she gave up her child. We now find out that she didn't, she did not murder her child, but this is the story everybody thinks is happening. So now we know this. How did the Witches' Road song start? Now we know this. How and why? Yes, it's a little, but witches, especially back in those days, there was a lot of good witches, bad witches, people who wanted to go after them, and she would goad them because that would give her more and more power. Well, what happens is as the decades go by, as the centuries go by, stories about how horrible she is have grown. And we find out that most of that is BS. But we also find out, as we learn, that she needs to goad them and push them and somehow get them to hate her so that they would go after her and try to kill her, just as her mother and that coven did, because that didn't make sense until the flashbacks. But if you look at the near the last scene where they show that they're standing around today, they're standing in the basement, and all of a sudden, underneath the floors lights up. You see her face like, what the hell is going on? it is at that moment she has realized that something is happening and that it is Billy. So when you go back, you watch the show and you watch her with Billy, because that was the moment she knew he was Wanda's child. That is the moment
What?
when it happened.
Well, I don't think that
I-
she knew I don't think that she knew that, because remember, Death really drives the stake into her when
guys,
she says he's not yours.
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah,
I
so
think
Marcia, I
she knows he
understand
has
every-
magic, but where
Guys,
it comes from, I don't
yeah.
think she
we
knows.
gotta
I
wrap
I
think we
this
understand
up.
can make a
everything that
whole
you
episode
said.
of
It's just not good television is my point.
We all disagree with you on that, so
Hey,
because we
episode
loved it, but that's fine. Next up, we're gonna talk about the Diplomat. Okay, Marcia, I guess you're excited about talking about the Diplomat. We're gonna talk about the first 3 episodes of the Diplomat, and so since you're so excited and almost jumped out of your seat, do you want to lead the discussion? Because this is I will set up one thing, which is this is season 2 premiere, and where we left off at season 1 is a bomb went off, and we have 3 people we don't really know their fate that we semi care about. We have Ronnie, who's the aide. We have Stewart, who is the ambassador's like second in command, and we have the husband. What's his name? I forgot his name. I forgot
I
the
love
husband's
how we
name.
all keep
Horn
forgetting
dog?
that.
Horn
How?
dog. So we have those 3 characters, and their fate is uncertain. And so the first episode is a lot of tension about who survived the explosion, who's going to live, who's going to die. And so that's really how to keep you on the edge of your seat for the
Yeah.
first one. But go ahead, Marcia, you lead us off since you were bouncing.
I can't believe it was only 6 episodes this season.
We're only talking the first 3. Keep
I
that
know,
in mind,
I
please.
know,
All
I know.
right.
I'm fine with all that. I look at how the last season went and the upcoming. Kate doesn't realize how much of a manipulator she truly is too. But as much as she keeps telling Hal, I don't want to be with you, I love you, but the marriage is not good for all these reasons, and she bounces back to him, when his life is in jeopardy, everything else can go to hell as far as she's concerned. She is by his side, holding his hand, getting up, talking to other people, doing what needs to be done, but right back to Hal, because no matter what, she loves that man and knows that he does what he does to help the world, even though it is dangerous half the time what he does. But he's not doing it for his own ego. He's doing it to help the world.
Doing it
And-
part for his ego.
And that's
Yeah. It's
He's got an ego. He's got a huge ego.
he does, but he doesn't want to be out there in the world. He doesn't want everyone to go, ooh, Hal, and know about him. He just
No.
does it behind the scenes.
That's not true.
Hal is the definition of narcissism. Like
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
absolutely the biggest narcissist on
Mhm.
that show, other than maybe the prime minister. The prime minister is probably bigger, but Hal manipulates the crap out of Kate. He really, really does.
But he
do
knows
not-
how to. But I also don't think that she would be in the situation she is now safely without Hal.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
best
true,
thing
but
would-
But
the-
also,
you're
he causes as much
forgetting-
problem. Yeah, go
you're
ahead.
forgetting
go
the
ahead.
dynamic, that the reason that this is the way it is because he was thrown out of his job. So his way of getting back in power is by using her. She
Yeah.
is his surrogate. You know, he's doing this by proxy.
Mhm. He is not a good guy at all. I
no.
really hate them together a lot. I
No.
really,
You
really.
do?
I
do.
don't
like
hate
him
them
and his
together. I
sister.
think that he does. I think they do love each other, but it is a toxic relationship.
Toxic. It's super toxic.
It is.
That's why I said I hate them together, because they're super toxic, and I don't
he
find
bring-
that entertaining to watch. Other than when she beat the crap out of him in season 1, that was hilarious.
I was gonna say that's my favorite moment of the show.
and her security guy going,
And the
"Should
Secret
I
Service
stop
agents
this?"
watching them.
No.
Yeah.
I
But-
love them. Wait, I have to say something here. I absolutely love them. I think
Mhm.
that the dialogue between them is so unbelievably brutally
It's brutal.
real.
Yes.
It's brutal. But I feel like that's a marriage. I think by the fact that how long that I've never been married, but from what I know in about other people's marriages and also television, movies. No, but seriously, I find it so fascinating. They have this love-hate kind of relationship and this I need you, I don't want you, I desperately trust you, I don't trust you for a second. It's fantastic to watch. And I didn't love them at first. And yes, and I loved when she beat him up. I felt like he deserved it. This second season, first of all, I think is even better than the first, which is pretty rare when you get a show that even that expands and deepens and is richer than the first season. That's such a a blessing, because usually there's a not usually, but sometimes there's a sophomore slump, or sometimes it's good, but it's not as good. This show, because of their relationship, I think it focuses so much on their relationship. There's a lot of scenes of the two of them just having these conversations. And even at one point, I think Kate says to Stuart, maybe, I don't remember, but she was like, well, that's a marriage, or that's our marriage, or something. And I was like, exactly. Like, people, you can hate the person that you love. You can dislike the person that you love, for many, many reasons. And she learns in this season, one of her arcs is that he really, like Marcia was saying, does do things though for the betterment of the world, or not, but not only, like he understands the complexities more about how he's gotten people killed. His choices have gotten people killed because her choices have have now.
I know what conversation you talk. I like that conversation because he was like, maybe now you can understand my perspective. But her point was he was so condescending with how he said it, that she couldn't really hear the message.
Yes.
And they just kept insulting each other, just left it,
which is fantastic. I mean, they to love someone, but to be able to be that honest with each other, right? That is actually
some of it was not honesty. Some of it was just kind of brutal, but not for the sake of brutal. But anyway, let's talk story a little bit. Allison, you haven't talked in a little bit. What did you think of the first? And remember, the end of this is 4th of July. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about their relationship, and really that's the first episode really underlines that. I mean, yes, they just had this situation where they've become as far apart from each other as they possibly could prior to the bombing. She was thinking about dating the now I've forgotten his position.
Dating?
Okay, dating is the nice term. Okay. I'm trying to be polite. Yeah. But yeah, she's she was having a relationship, or about to go on into a relationship on the side, and really angry at him, and then the bombing happens, and suddenly, yes, she is back at the hospital, and she's beside him like glue, and she's arranging everything and making sure everything is perfect for him and won't leave him, and this is the kind of relationship they have. I agree, it's toxic, but it is also, as Yusin put, it's fascinating to watch. It's absolutely addicting to watch, because it is so complex. It's not just one thing. Oh, they hate each other, or oh, they love each other. It's both, and I think all of that is going on. And in terms of the plot, now where everybody is searching around, for blame for this, and they're searching for Royalyn because she's disappeared. No one can find her. No one knows where she is, and she's clearly involved in this. Sorry?
And what does she have to do with everything?
And what does she have to do with it? Exactly.
Because why?
Exactly. So and all of that is going on. So there's this search for her, and and there's these definite, I mean, everything is pointing to the fact, not the fact, but the belief that the prime minister is to blame for all of this, and in on this whole thing. And just all of this is happening at the same time. So I thought it was just brilliantly done.
One thing can you touch on? Well, that I want to touch on too, based on what you're saying here, is who's to blame. What I thought was really interesting is once Stewart gets back on his feet, he goes kind of ballistic with
Blames her.
blaming her. And on one hand, I see his point, which is he said, stay away from this woman. She's terrible. I'm going to end this entire event so that I can keep you away from her. And then what does she do? She calls her, and her phone call leads to the explosion. She did not set the explosion. She did not, do that. So I felt like his level of anger,
Animosity.
and animosity was a little above where it should have been. I get his point in that she didn't listen to him,
No.
and I get that. I get his.
There's actually a joke in the show that she listens to the last person who's in the room with her.
That's been said of people I've worked with.
Yeah.
But
So
speaking of
go
Stewart,
ahead.
he's got a lot of other problems that emotionally are affecting him also.
Yes.
Bringing this out. I mean, there's he and Idra. And he keeps talking to her about their now dead relationship at her job. Now, as
Yes.
women, we are tired of having that happen, but he continues to do it even though she told him stop.
Well, I
And
mean, and her point is very valid, which is she sacrificed her career for him, but it didn't even occur to him to sacrifice for her. So she's like, why would I stay with you? You're not coming at this from an
Yes.
equal perspective.
And
And
he comes back and says, I want us to get back together again. But oh, by the way, I'm still probably going to leave. Like if she was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
fine, say
Yeah.
no,
nothing.
no.
Other than
Yeah,
just
he
say
just,
nothing.
yeah,
he doesn't even realize
changed.
how manipulative
Nothing's
he
changed.
is.
right. And then he backstabs the ambassador to the chief of staff by basically saying she's not ready to be vice president. To be fair, she doesn't want to be vice president. But the way he led that conversation on the phone with her just was so underhanded. And so it really made me dislike him. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm not defending him completely, but I think he is oblivious to the amount of PTSD he's experienced, as Hal is. They manifest in two different ways. He knows he does not need to be around when the fireworks go off for 4th of July. Hal is like, I can deal with it until the moment comes, and he can't deal with it. But I think that Stewart is letting that PTSD affect his judgment.
Yes.
On the personal front and on the professional front.
But even
And I'm not
before,
defending him because, don't poop in your own cave, as the saying goes.
I don't think, is that a saying? I feel like you made
Yes,
that up.
well, it is, but I'm being euphemistic.
Malik, did you watch Diplomat? You hadn't
I
said
did,
anything.
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the show is one of the smartest shows on television. I think that the way that they tell the story, the dialogue is great, but the way that they tell the story outside of the dialogue is really telling. So if we go back to episode 1, when we're in the aftermath of the bombing, and I just love the fact that Kerry Russell's wardrobe tells the story of what's happening as they're
Oh,
the red
recovering.
dress.
Yeah.
So we don't just have lines that say, oh, things are frantic, people don't know what's going on. They show her having to borrow clothing from one person,
like,
find a
"What's
pair
the
of
matter with
pants
you?"
here, find a jacket there. So if just visually watching the progression of the episodes, you understand the chaos of the aftermath, which I think is brilliant. I love the scene in the first episode where, we know they're CIA, they're security stuff, and they're sitting there writing on a whiteboard in a room to try to communicate to one another.
Yeah.
Just
right.
again, very low tech, but it absolutely tells a story about what their circumstances are. So I think the first episode just has lots of examples of that. I think that continues on in the rest of the two that we've covered too, which is that the way they tell the story, yes, they have great dialogue, but they also tell the story visually and kind of circumstantially, which is just really refreshing to watch. The performances are amazing, and I'll say it this way: the chemistry between Dennison, the foreign secretary, and Kerry Russell, the ambassador, is so amazing. I don't think Kerry Russell is sexy, but the way he looks at her makes me be like, oh, I'm wrong. Because of their.
If I were in a room with the two of them, I would have to leave. I would just be like, too much energy here.
There was an episode which I can't remember, but someone was watching. She was sitting on the couch, and on one side was Hal, and on the other side was the
Foreign secretary.
Foreign secretary. And the way the three of them are talking and interacting, and the person who's watching it's like, you can tell they're like, damn, that's hot, and we have a problem.
Yeah.
But the idea that they're also talking about what happens in government. So here they have an event they have to put on, but they don't have they don't have enough money to put it on.
Oh, right.
So Hal has gotten them a sponsor, and it like happens with a lot of events. You've got these banners up saying thank you to this company and that company, which makes what's happened in the last few months, weeks out in the real world also interesting, which is what I love about Diplomat and the real world here. So she goes from, I don't want to talk to him, I don't want to talk to him. He just paid for this entire party. Well, hello, it's so nice to meet you. Watch how, as much as she doesn't want to be in that position of being a diplomat for BS, she is good. Her personality just flips over. And the idea that the hot dogs came with red, white, and blue buns, the little minutia, like Malik is saying about the scripts, the way they write this little stuff, they're not having to tell you why, they just talk, they just do, and you pick up on it, and you just go, I love the writing. It just, the stories are amazing. I'm looking forward to see what happens in the next few episodes in how all of this now goes with the angst of the foreign secretary along with Kate, how it's going to be, with the and that's the thing that we haven't really.
Oh, the foiled. One thing we forgot was the foiled takeover from the PM. They were gonna have a no confidence vote, and that blew up and went away.
But we also missed.
No, that was the 4th of July. 4th of July was the
Ryan. Yes, but we missed that Ryland. They found her.
Royland,
right? They didn't just
at
find
the
her.
funeral, and they
She
did the
running
little
to
switcheroo thing.
Oh,
yeah,
they did the Thomas Crown thing. They did
that was cool.
With all the redheads and everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, but the idea that she came back, the idea that the takeover from Trowbridge, all of a sudden everyone backed away, because even though the public doesn't know what we think happened was Trowbridge's fault, but they just love the idea that it's like he killed bin Laden. It's like you can do no wrong because you killed the people who killed you killed the person who killed our people. And so what they tried to do to get rid of him, because he really is stupid, he is
not that bright.
He isn't. He's the one who listens to the last person in the room.
Yes.
But because now the public think he walks on water, all the other ministers who were going to fight against him, they just backed away.
Fell in line. Well, we got
Dennison's line on that, I think, is, you talked about they wrote this before we knew what circumstances we're in now. But he says when you're serving somebody like that, you see you're not going to change him. So your only decision is about when to light yourself on fire.
Oh, that was good.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a good line.
So noble. He's such a good guy, and they talk about that as well.
But we got to wrap this one up. We got to wrap this one up. But I see your point. I love that line, but that goes to the conversation between the couples. But we've already covered that. So we're gonna say thumbs up. We're gonna follow up next time and finish.
Up, feet up, ankles up, elbows up.
we're gonna wrap this one up the next time. So we'll see. And I'm glad that I haven't finished it, so I have something to look forward to. All you suckers already finished the show. You don't have anything to look forward to. All right. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them at tvcampfire@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're on Facebook. You can listen to us on 50pointradio.com. 6 Degrees of Geek, iTunes, and YouTube. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.